into just my answering, especially Arevela Hayren.
Լրիվ նորմալ է, լրիվ օքեյ է։
Okay.
Special microphones there for people who can listen us live. Okay. Ռևջան ինչպես եք։
Լավ, շատ շնորհակալություն։
Ոնց է ձեր ժամանակը անցնում Հայաստանում։ Երբ եք
Շատ հաճելի է։
Երբ եք եկել։
Երեք առավոտին։
Jet lag։
Մի քիչ է։
Իսկ ոնց է։
Բայց նորմալ է ինձ։ Այս տարի կարծեմ 5-րդ անգամն է, որ Հայաստան եմ։
5-րդ անգամ։
Շատ եմ երթում։
Կախվածած տեղի մասնաճյուղի հետ Nvidia-ի։
Այո, ես եմ այս մասնաճյուղին CEO-ն։
Wow.
CEO of Nvidia Armenia.
That's nice. Live ենք։ Okay. Բարև բոլորին, մենք հիմա գտնվում ենք WCIT-ում, ոնց գիտեք WCIT-ն արդեն սկսել է, WCIT-ի գլխավոր տեխնոլոգիական գործընկերն է Team Telecom-ը, ով սկսում է նոր ոդքասթների շարք, կոչվում է Team Talks, WCIT-ից կփորձենք ձեզ ներկայացնենք ինչ է ներսում տեղի ունենում, խոսելու ենք շատ հետաքրքիր սպիկերների հետ, իսկ այսօր մեր հյուրն է լինելու հենց հիմա Nvidia-ի Omniverse-ի եւ սիմուլյացիոն տեխնոլոգիաների մասով փոխնախագահ եւ Հայաստանի Nvidia-ի տնօրեն Ռև Լեբարեդեան։ Ռև ջան, բարև ձեզ։
Բարև ձեզ։ Շատ շնորհակալություն։ That's a nice intro.
Thank you. Հայերենով սկսենք թե անգլերենով։
Հայերենով սկսենք, բայց վերջին անգլերենով։
Դե առաջի հարցը ինձ հետաքրքիր է։ Nvidia-ն հիմա կարելի ասել սինոնիմ է AI-ի հետ։ Ոչ մեկ չէ պատկերացնում ինչ հեղափոխություն է լինելու ռևոլյուցիա ու անհասկանալի էր Nvidia-ն իմ համար հանրային դեպս ու շատերի ինչեր ինքը այդքան պատրաստ է ամեն ինչին, ոնց կարողացավ ինքը այս ալիքը վերցնի ու նաև շատեր ասում են առանց Nvidia-ի տեխնոլոգիաների այս AI հեղափոխությունը հնարավոր չէր։
Okay, անգլերենով պատասխանեմ եթե հարց չկա։ Yeah, the basic question is how did we catch this shift? Right? This revolution in AI, and how do we stay ahead, and why are others having a hard time adapting? The truth is that we didn't catch it, we created it.
Wow.
And that's why we're in this position that we're in. Everything we do at Nvidia, every new thing that we do, we look at a few criteria to decide whether we should do it or not. One of the most important criteria is that the new thing we do should have what Jensen, our CEO, calls a $0 billion market. So there should be no market for it. We don't compete with others. We don't go someplace where others are already doing things and try to take market away from them. We go to markets that don't exist yet, but we imagine they can be large. We started investing in AI and building the foundations of AI about 20 years ago, or over 20 years ago. We discovered AI on it 10, 12 years ago, and the rest of the world just realized it recently, and that's why we're in this position.
But how you understand which technology you should invest in? Like how you understood that AI will be big in 20 years? Like for us, like regular people, it's even hard to imagine what's going to happen in a year time. And so a lot of business.
So we didn't know when we started building the computers that it would be AI in particular. In the talk I just did, I started by talking about this Moore's law, which is an old law that is no longer true. It's not actually a law. That computers get 10 times faster every 5 years. For the same money, for the same amount of power, it was going up. We could see for decades that the more compute you create, the more people figure out what to do with this compute. And we also saw that there were some problems that require so much compute that in our lifetimes, if we just did computers the same way, we would never be able to solve those problems. So NVIDIA was born to solve problems that normal computers, that Moore's law was doing, was not enough. And so we created the GPU, and we created this concept of accelerated computing. It's a way of doing computing that requires all of the software to participate in it, to get speeds that are much faster than what Moore's law allowed. And we put this out there. It was called CUDA in 2006. You can look at our stock price after that. For almost 10 years, the stock price didn't move. It was actually, everybody said, why are you doing this? Yeah. This is crazy adding this. Mostly our business was about video games. And we are adding extra costs to our chips to enable this new ability. But we fundamentally believed if we create the possibility of much more compute, somebody somewhere is going to figure out some amazing thing to do that with all this compute. And that finally happened in 2012 with AlexNet and the ImageNet competition. That was the beginning of this modern AI with machine learning. We solved a problem called image classification that people have been trying to solve for 5 decades. Since the 1950s, they've been trying to solve it, and we didn't believe it would be solved in our lifetime. But it was solved by combining our computer, a gaming system, actually it was for video games, with this new idea and feeding lots of data into it. At that moment, we understood the ramifications of that. We understood, even though we didn't particularly think AI was going to be the thing, we knew something was going to come, and we were waiting and we were alert. So we said, this is going to change everything. What do we need to make this happen? And one of those things is building large computers that scale up so that we can have these supercomputers. And we set about the work of building these supercomputers even before the market for AI existed.
Wow, that's extremely interesting. So and how your internal culture is making it possible. Because like a couple of days ago, I was reading that like every third employee in Nvidia is a millionaire, and people like really love to work there, not because of money, but how they're able to create new things.
That's actually very true.
And it's really interesting how you are building that kind of culture, so like people can thrive there, and you can come up with the innovations like that. So like we are seeing how it's changing the world.
Yeah, I'm not sure there's any way to take learnings directly from what we've built with our culture and try to reproduce it. I think some of these cultural things are sort of accidents of a time and place and the particular people that were there. But one thing that's unique about NVIDIA and why I think this culture works is it's almost like a self-fulfilling cycle. So I've been at NVIDIA 23 years, which is most of the time NVIDIA has existed. I joined right around the time we were making our GPUs programmable. I worked on the first shading language, which became CUDA, this thing, coming from the computer graphics side. I thought I would be at NVIDIA for maybe a year or two maximum, and now I'm 23 years. This is going to be the last job I ever have. When I hit my 20-year mark, I thought, wow, that's special. You know, maybe not a lot of people at NVIDIA have been here for 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
When I joined the company, we were just under 1,000 people. Right after I turned 20, hit the 20-year mark, Jensen in our company meeting showed statistics of how many people have been at the company for 1 year, for 5 years, for 10 years. When we got to 20, there were more than 650 people.
Wow.
That have been there for 20 plus years, which means that most of the people that were there when I joined the company are still here. They're still at the company. I think that in itself actually is a strength. The fact that we have so many people that stay for so long, the culture and all of the things that make us unique can persist. They can continue, and in that there's a lot of strengths. Just the mere fact that there's people that have been around for that long. You know, there's some people that I'm sure in the company don't like me that have been there for 20 years. and maybe some that I don't like. But it kind of doesn't matter, because if there's a problem that requires us to be a team, I can call up that person and say, I need you.
And he will be
We're in trouble.
very helpful.
And he'll immediately come help. Because we have the saying in our culture, internally in Nvidia, the mission is the boss. Nobody's the boss, the mission is the boss. We have to do the right thing. That's kind of built in, and anybody that's been there for that long. And I think it's maybe kind of like what soldiers feel inside their teams when they go to war. It doesn't matter if you like each other or not, you are part of the same group, part of the same family, and when you've been there that long, there's trust. And so we built this social trust.
But it's interesting how you built it, because like I've served in an army, and what you said is like extremely true. But as I understand, we were sticking together as hard as it is possible, because there was a like fear of losing a battle or fear of losing your life. So the main motivation was fear.
Well, there's always some of that. I mean, of course, it's not the same level of fear or whatever. I don't want to equate it at all to war.
But there's not so much fear there.
But there's
something.
But in work, there's always the fear of the company folding, of the mission failing, and that has personal ramifications for everyone. If the company fails, you don't have a job, and if you don't have a job, you can't feed your family. So that's kind of built into everyone there. We all share the same goal, which is survival. And more than survival, everybody also shares the same goal, that they want to do their life's work. You want whatever you're doing to be meaningful and make a difference and make an impact and be useful. And so we all share that. And there's been many people that have come to the company and left over the years. I think many of those maybe didn't fit the culture. So it's kind of self-selecting. The ones that end up staying create the culture that attracts others that share in that culture.
Clear. Thank you for that answer. I cannot not ask this question as an Armenian. Does your Armenian heritage or the culture you've grown as an Armenian ever help you in your career or at Nvidia?
I believe absolutely, and I think maybe even maybe a step more than that. Not just being Armenian, but being an Armenian from the diaspora. Armenians historically, for hundreds or maybe even thousands of years, have always been adventurous. There's Armenians all over the world.
Yeah, that's for sure.
There's pockets of Armenians everywhere. And actually, to this day, you go find any city where you'll find a group of Armenians, there's a good chance those Armenians are doing better than the average in that city. They work hard, they're educated, and they thrive wherever they go. I think our unique position in the world at the crossroads between East and West, us being in the Silk Road and trading and also being at the mercy of other empires around us, we have a culture of adaptability. We figure out how to keep our own culture, but we can also be inside other cultures and understand them and adapt to the context where we're at and empathize with others. Being at Nvidia, we're a global company. We have many employees all over the world. My team is a very large team. I don't know exactly the number of countries that my employees are in, but it's in the many dozens, 30 countries plus probably for where they all work. But we all work as one team, and I think a large part of that, what's helped me is I can understand them and I can feel for them and empathize with them as a global citizen. Because I'm an Armenian, that's always had to be like that. I can understand what it's like for somebody that's not an American to work for an American company, and vice versa.
Yeah, because sometimes you cannot understand like you have to be an outsider to understand that outside people, maybe they are not fully understanding the culture that you are trying to share with them. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I mean, most Armenians speak at least 2 languages, but many speak many more. It's something we had to do. That's a survival skill. But through this understanding of language, you can also understand the mind of people of different cultures.
Yeah,
I think that's a great asset.
yeah. Like everyone now is saying, like the best skill that you can have for 21st century is like adaptability, and also everyone is like advising to make a network. Like as a nation, we are adaptable, and we also have like global network. And now, like in the age of AI, when everything is changing, like do you think how we can use that skills that we have like for hundreds of years to thrive in the culture of AI? Like, have you ever like thought about it, or do you have any vision?
Yeah, there's many different aspects to that question and ways to answer that. I spoke about it again a little bit here. I actually believe wholeheartedly that the only path to success for Armenia, this young country, that we haven't had our own independent country for centuries.
Yeah.
And finally we do. It's an accident of history.
Lucky accident.
I grew up in Los Angeles. I was born and raised there. My parents were born and raised in Beirut. I felt when I was a child, I went to an Armenian school in Los Angeles, I felt the burden of having to keep Armenianism alive. I felt we had this feeling that if we didn't speak Armenian, if we didn't read and write it, if we didn't marry Armenian, that it would go away. But that all changed because Armenia became an independent country, and there is now a chance that Armenians could evolve. We don't have to just keep Armenianism the way it is, but there's actually a place where, by definition, everybody here is Armenian. For Armenia to survive, for this young country to survive, it needs to have an economy. It needs to produce things of value that make it valuable to others around the world. Well, how do we do that? We don't have natural resources that we can bank on. It's like other countries. We don't have oil. We don't have enough minerals. We don't have those things. It's not enough. Our only natural resource really is our people and their brains. And that is actually a great resource. All the things we were just talking about with strengths of Armenians and culturally, but also Armenians have a long history of a love for education, a love for the sciences, a love for the arts. If we can advance that, then Armenia has a chance to be productive. In this world, the only productivity you can have from intellectual exercises of any great size is technology, and the only technology that really matters is AI.
Yeah.
So Armenia has to invest in AI. Every country has to, but Armenia particularly, it's existential for Armenia to do this. Now, Armenia can't invest in the same way that other big countries can. It can't compete like that. It has to be smart. It has to use its size to its advantage and become agile. And it's absolutely necessary, and another existential thing here is, it can't boil the ocean. We can't do everything. We have to very carefully choose areas to invest in very deeply in AI, but specific areas of that where we can be world-class, the best in the world in that area, so that the world comes to us for these particular things. We have to choose these areas carefully because not all of the areas are equally valuable in the future. We want to pick ones that give us as many options as possible.
Like Nvidia did 20 years ago.
Yes, it's all about dealing with ambiguity. You can never predict the future accurately. You can kind of get a sense of the direction it's going. And so the best choices are the ones that give you the most options. So as you learn more about the future, you can change and adapt.
Yeah, that's valuable insight, very. So the next question probably will be, where is technology is going? How we can see where it's going and where to invest. You said that the most important
It's a big question.
right
Where
now
is it
going on is AI, and it's interesting how you see it as a person and how Nvidia is seeing where it's going and where to invest.
Yeah, the main focus of my keynote presentation here was the topic of physical AI, and which is essentially robotics.
Yeah.
I said something in there about the size of markets, about various markets. The size of computing, the size of information technology in terms of a global market is at maximum $5 trillion, which is a huge number, don't get me wrong, but that $5 trillion is divided by many people on Earth, by 7-8 billion people, so it ends up being a lot smaller as a result. Information technology, computing, the technology for dealing with ones and zeros in our representations of technology is extremely valuable. But primarily it's been limited to areas that are amenable to being digitized, to turn into ones and zeros. The easiest things to turn into ones and zeros are human ideas.
Yeah.
Our language, our text, our books, these sorts of things. And that's why the internet is largely filled with that. The internet, that's the easiest thing we can turn into information. But if you look at all of the markets in the world, it's about $100 trillion. So information technology is a small percentage of the world. Computing mostly touches that. It doesn't touch the rest of the world. The rest of the world, the rest of the markets are about atoms.
Yeah.
Not ones and zeros, but physical things around us.
Where we didn't have innovation for the last 30 years.
At least computing has barely touched those markets. So moving atoms around, whether it's transporting humans or transporting goods, reassembling atoms, manufacturing, creating medicines, which is also another way of reassembling atoms into medication, health sciences, surgery, all of these things are about moving atoms around. And so the next wave of AI, the next place technology is going to go, is taking AI out of just the information world and bringing it into the physical world. And for that, we need to build robots. But the hardest part of building a robot has always been building the brain of the robot. We have that now. We have the capability to build good robot brains. That's what this new AI stuff, generative AI, large language models are unlocking. And so it's a race now to go do that. And I'm hoping that Armenia figures out areas of this, physical AI and robotics, to go focus on and be world-class at.
And what your advice will be to the young engineers and businessmen who are like watching right now and listening to you, how they can start to build their business or their skill to be like maximum useful in this 21st century, in the century of AI? To fit in all that things that you said and how the world is going to change. Especially for Armenians, probably.
For young people starting out now, I would recommend they think about two things. One is you should go pick an area where there's the potential for a lot of money. Don't go into...
That's an amazing advice.
No, and I say that, it seems like, oh, that's an obvious thing. Of course people are going to places where there's a lot of money. That's actually not what young people usually do. Young people generally say, I want to go follow my passion. I'm going to go do the thing I like. Maybe they like video games, they like movies, they want to be a YouTuber or something like that, where there's some money, but that money is actually for a very small number of people.
Yeah, always small winners. Like
there isn't actually
1%.
A lot of money there. There's many more people that want to do that job than there are jobs available.
Yeah.
And as a result, it's not a good career, not a good place to go. Instead, go look at where the actual money is being spent. I just talked about $100 trillion of building things. People don't think about making cement, or plumbing, and building these buildings around us. There's a lot of very large, important companies that are doing extremely interesting work and advancements in technology and innovation, and they're company names you never hear about because that's not what a young person would interact with as a consumer. It's not sexy. So go look at that first. And then the other thing that young people should do is, instead of saying follow your passions, first thing, look at yourself and go, what are the things that you're kind of good at already? What skills do you already have, or what things come easy to you? And even if that's not your passion, go match those two things. Figure out if you can take your skills, whatever it is, and go take it to an industry that has lots of money, there are lots of opportunity, and go hone that skill. Get better and better at it. And I promise you that once you start getting the feeling of being great at that craft, and you start making an impact to others around you, you'll become passionate about it.
Yeah.
So don't follow your passion, but follow your capabilities and take it to some place where there's actual opportunity, and there will continue to be opportunity later.
I agree 100%. Thank you very much. It was an interesting talk. You gave a lot of amazing insight. And good luck.
It was a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Շնորհակալություն։ Շատ հետաքրքիր էր։